A spotlight bursts to life, casting its beams straight upon the stage. A young man lifts his voice in song, accompanied by his band. After the performance, they depart together. One remarks it was their last concert, but another insists that, although they have no schedule now, more shows will come. One tells Jihoon not to force himself to say encouraging things just because he's the leader. Someone mentions they're a failed idol group whose next album has been canceled. Suddenly, Hyun approaches Jihoon, declaring their concert was simply spectacular. Jihoon asks why he says this so suddenly. Hyun replies that if they perform well, they will truly soar. He has heard that if they shine brilliantly on this reality show, even the president will permit them to release another album. He remarks that the next album, titled Biggest, rests in Jihoon's hands. Jihoon admits he doesn't know what lies ahead, but he will strive diligently no matter what. He vows to give his utmost effort. This year's most anticipated celebrity show, The World Within, garners attention for its renowned cast and star-studded production team. Yet, just 2 days before filming commenced, a major scandal erupted. Production became impossible due to a scandal involving one of the actors, a famous idol. With only 1 day left and no replacement found over 2 weeks, someone like Jihoon, a failed idol with no commitments, seized this immense opportunity. Jihoon, accompanied by Hyun, approached the director and the screenwriter. The scriptwriter admits she was concerned about finding a replacement so swiftly but finds Jihoon so charming, and it's a relief to her. She inquires whether he is comfortable playing the role of a comedic character. They gladly agree. She informs them that the team members they'll be working with are both actors. Ujin, primarily known for action roles, exudes elegance, while Sion appears as if he stepped out of the pages of a romantic comic. She mentions it's challenging to get them to play such roles and that they'll have to live in a mountain house without internet. Jihoon says he'll be as awkward as necessary. They assure him that working with Ujin will in fact be easy. But Sion can be prickly and won't do anything he doesn't wish to. He's always been one to do things his own way. However, the screenwriter noted that he has a sweet tooth. Jihoon resolved to bring sweets along. He inquires if there's anything he should be wary of concerning Ujin. She assures him there's no need for concern, stating that throughout her career as a scriptwriter, she has never encountered a celebrity with such a good nature. She mentions he's incredibly courteous to the staff and even donates his earnings from the show. She believes he'll succeed because of his character. However, the director remarks that there's something she should be cautious about. He tells Jihoon that it probably doesn't concern him, so he needn't worry and can focus on preparing for the shoot. Later on, they arrive at the filming location. Workers bustle about the area. Jihoon introduces himself as the new team member, John from Biggest. Hyun states that he's his manager. They are welcomed warmly and invited inside. They're informed that Ujin and Sion went to inspect the living quarters upon arrival, and since there's time before filming, he can meet the rest of the team. Hyun praises Jihoon for greeting everyone. Jihoon replies that Hyun still does a better job. Hyun asks if he minds being left alone. Jihoon says he's certainly not a child and notices his phone keeps vibrating. Hyun says they'll meet later and that he'll be in the car. Jihoon starts searching for someone inside the house. He thinks the place is lovely and considers it a stroke of luck to live here for 2 weeks. He figures they're not around and perhaps they're upstairs. He ascends to the second floor, sensing they might be there. He tries to stay calm. He even bought gifts for his colleagues. He practices his introduction as he hears voices behind the door. Peering through the crack, he glimpses Ujin. Sion is there with him. Jihoon instantly understands there's something between them, even though he'd heard they were just friends. Suddenly, Ujin notices the ajar door. Jihoon crouches by the wall, deciding to pretend he saw nothing. He hadn't expected they were involved and realizes that if this gets out, chaos will follow. Suddenly, he hears footsteps approaching. He sees it's the cameraman. He wonders what will happen if the cameraman captures the two of them. He realizes this could ruin everything, and his band's album depends on him. Jihoon cannot let this show fail, nor can he afford to be involved in a scandal. No matter what, this show must be a success, so he'll do whatever it takes. He decides to intercept the cameraman and greets him. He introduces himself warmly. Jihoon asks if he's capturing footage of the house before filming. He mentions he's looked around and noticed this window offers the best view. He suggests they check it out together. The cameraman replies that to prevent confusion, he follows a set order. Jihoon realizes that Ujin and Sion are in there, but the cameraman is already heading that way. He stops the cameraman and asks if he can take a look first. as it's his first time on a reality show. The cameraman agrees but asks him to keep quiet. Dohyun feels he's bought them some time and wonders if they've composed themselves. They step inside but find no one. He assumes they must have hidden. Dohyun doesn't grasp the situation fully, but this show is a precious opportunity for him, and it cannot be jeopardized by this. The cameraman starts filming the surroundings. Jihoon's attention turns to the wardrobe, and he realizes that Woojin and Sion are inside it. Sion worries they'll be discovered, but Woojin covers his mouth, whispering that they just need to stay quiet. Jihoon remarks to the cameraman that this room is simply amazing. He hears whispers from the wardrobe and fears the cameraman might notice, for that would spell disaster for him. He doesn't know how to handle this predicament. Suddenly, the cameraman notices the sounds coming from the wardrobe. Jihoon suddenly shouts at the top of his lungs, distracting the cameraman. He then apologizes, and the cameraman tells him to calm down. The cameraman says he'll work in another room and that Jihoon can join him later, then leaves. Jihoon was so terrified he nearly lost control. He thinks his colleagues have gone mad and that he ought to chase them away. He decides to open the door and act as if nothing happened. The wardrobe doors swing open. Sion had warned they should have stopped talking. After all, they were nearly discovered. Woojin says that as long as they aren't caught, it's thrilling and fun. And he kisses Sion. Panicked, Jihoon rushes back to the car. Hyeon asks what's wrong with him, and Jihoon asks what he's implying. He can't stop thinking about it and still doesn't grasp what's appealing about a relationship between two men. Hyeon advises him to breathe deeply, drink some water, and relax. Jihoon starts sipping water, but recalling what he witnessed earlier, he immediately spits it out. Hyeon asks if he's lost his mind and suggests he should change. He removes his wet clothes, thinking it's all because of those two. It was so dreadful he can't forget it. Sitting unclothed, he notices someone approaching the car. Jihoon finds himself face to face with Woojin. Woojin extends his hand for a handshake and says he's pleased to meet him. He introduces himself. Jihoon responds with his own name and asks what brings him here. Jihoon swiftly shuts the door, saying he'll greet him properly once he's dressed. Suddenly, the door opens again, and Jihoon recalls that they are automatic. Jihoon approaches Woojin and Sion, apologizing for making them wait so long. He bows and introduces himself. He informs them that he's joining the new team. He mentions that since it's their first meeting, he has prepared some gifts. He expresses his eagerness to work with them. Woojin replies that he also looks forward to working with him, but Jihoon's collar needs a slight adjustment. He straightens his shirt, remarking that Jihoon must have been in quite a hurry. Jihoon feels it's a bit much and insists he can manage himself. Sion asks what they're up to. Woojin introduces him, explaining that Sion doesn't talk much and apologizes on his behalf. Woojin suggests that, if possible, Jihoon shouldn't worry about what happened earlier. Jihoon agrees and thanks him. Woojin says they'll be off and bids him farewell until the shoot. Jihoon sits on a bench, feeling deeply embarrassed. Sion seemed to be jealous of him over Woojin. He realizes they're in a relationship and decides he should be more cautious, avoiding getting too close to either of them. He finds it exceedingly difficult to find a solution. The concept of the show, titled Inner Peace, is for those wishing to escape reality. It's about people spending 2 weeks in the mountains without internet or any electronics. Jihoon won't be able to find anything he needs. He won't be able to spend time on social media or games, but he'll become friendlier with his colleagues. Though he has to act a bit clumsy, it won't take much time. The show claims it will be ordinary life, and that's truly unfolding. He genuinely wanted to avoid this, but filming has commenced. Jihoon tells the camera that it feels like a journey because the scenery is so magnificent. Eventually, filming concludes. It was the last room, so they decide to take a break. Jihoon notices the wardrobe and recalls what he had discovered. Suddenly, Woojin approaches him, startling him. The boy asks what he's doing here. Woojin hints that he understands. Jihoon saw everything. He openly flirts with Jihoon. Everyone knows Woojin as a good-natured person, but to Jihoon, he seems like a complete fool. Another filming session comes to an end. Woojin suggests that since they'll be living together for 2 weeks, they should be less formal with each other. The crew reminds them they need to collect their phones and asks them to place their gadgets into boxes. Then they need to inspect their luggage. Jihoon shows a music player, stating he doesn't need internet for it, but all devices are prohibited. They also confiscate all their snacks. Sion tells Jihoon they should eat everything immediately, but the food is taken away at once. The actors begin to protest. Woojin mentions that in other shows they give prizes for completing tasks. He proposes incorporating this rule into their show. The crew agrees, but warns that the tasks will be challenging. Ji-hoon wasn't present when the first task occurred. The actors failed it, so now they have to sleep in one room. The crew bids them good night until morning. The three of them lie down on the floor. Ji-hoon hopes the couple won't do anything strange while he's there. He notices a camera in the room, so he thinks everything will be fine. Yet he feels uncomfortable in such circumstances. He remarks that it feels like a trip. Dohyun and Sion engage in the conversation, and Ji-hoon is glad to have something to discuss. Ji-hoon suggests playing truth or dare. Sion asks when Ji-hoon had his first kiss. Ji-hoon proposes they talk about something else, and Dohyun asks Sion why he's teasing him. Dohyun knew that sooner or later people would discover about him and Sion, but he didn't expect it on the very first day. But to him, it doesn't matter much. Ji-hoon doesn't have a phone, so he has no evidence. The director discusses the new participant with Dohyun. Someone remarks that they liked him and that he's very charming. Upon hearing this, the director tells him to control himself and not do anything foolish during filming. He asks what he's planning and reminds him that no one is allowed to use phones during filming. Dohyun says he's still worried about him and Sion working together. The man says he still doesn't know if it's a good idea. Dohyun says he's just joking. That's why they chose an unsuccessful idol. It's good when someone remains silent if given the right role. Ji-hoon awakens in the morning. He asks Sion if he slept well last night. Sion affirms and asks how Ji-hoon slept. Ji-hoon says he looks like he stepped out of a comic book. He goes to the kitchen and asks Dohyun how he slept. Dohyun replies he slept quite well and asks how Ji-hoon slept. Ji-hoon apologizes for oversleeping and asks if he can help. Dohyun says he's already finished and suggests Ji-hoon freshen up. On camera, Ji-hoon says it's incredible. Dohyun looks entirely like a film character. When they sit at the table, Ji-hoon gazes at the dishes and asks if Dohyun truly prepared all this himself. Dohyun says he tried to make everything to their liking. Ji-hoon remarks that he's an excellent cook. Dohyun says he's not that skilled, but he was taught how to cook. After a bite, Ji-hoon says his stomach suddenly feels upset. Sion asks Dohyun if he doesn't know how to cook. He replies that he was taught how to properly hold a knife and use a pan. Sion says it would be better if his stomach didn't ache after eating Dohyun's food, and that the meal isn't so bad that his stomach should hurt from it. All this they say according to the script. Then Ji-hoon remarks that they must be very close. Sion asks if that's so. Ji-hoon says it certainly seems that way, since they even call each other by name. Dohyun explains they first met and became friends in America, so he calls him by name. Ji-hoon thinks Sion appears slightly angry, but he felt compelled to inquire about it. Ji-hoon feels that Sion is jealous of him regarding his boyfriend. But it's not his fault, and he's the victim here. In the evening, the crew asks Ji-hoon how the filming went. He says that today he tried not to be an obstacle between Dohyun and Sion. However, he never thought this could happen. He couldn't believe he'd receive his first kiss here, especially from a guy, the guy who saw everything. 6 hours earlier, the actors were cooking together in the kitchen. Dohyun asks Ji-hoon what he'd like for lunch. The boy can't believe he changed his attitude toward him just because breakfast was delicious. Sion embraces Ji-hoon and asks Dohyun to bring some meat. Today, the actors have a new mission, transferring a piece of paper from mouth to mouth. If they succeed, they'll get meat for lunch. The amount of meat depends on how many pieces of paper they can successfully pass. The crew urges them to strive and pass as many as possible. They press the timer and announce the start. Dohyun takes the paper into his mouth and passes it to Sion. This reminds Ji-hoon of last night. He's unsure if he can do it. Dohyun fixes his gaze upon the boy. Ji-hoon realizes it has begun. Dohyun firmly grasps Ji-hoon's waist. The boy thinks all he needs is to receive the piece of paper. Suddenly, the paper slips, and they kiss. Ji-hoon blushes, while Dohyun calmly apologizes. Ji-hoon drops to his knees, exclaiming that it was his first kiss. Sion asks if the two of them kissed. Suddenly, time is up and the game ends. The actors won sausages because of that kiss. At the table, Ji-hoon apologizes, saying he didn't know they would get sausages. Dohyun says he's actually glad they did. Sion asks if that was really his first kiss, and whether he's a solo singer. Sion affirms that it is, and it's because he trained during childhood. Dohyun apologizes for taking his first kiss. Ji-hoon says it's fine, it wasn't intentional. It was just a game. Dohyun offers him a sausage, asking him to eat it instead of him. Ji-hoon says he doesn't need to do that, but he takes a bite of the sausage. Dohyun tells him to eat, as he doesn't mind giving up the sausage. Ji-hoon feels a bit uneasy. Sion asks if he wants his sausage too, saying he can feed him. Ji-hoon says there's no need, he should eat. Ujin suggests they talk about him and what his lips were like. He's curious since it was the boy's first time, but Ji-hoon asks him not to inquire about it. In this house, there are only 2 bedrooms. One for 2 people and one for 1 person. So 2 people have to share a room, and fortunately for Ji-hoon, he will sleep alone. He thinks that perhaps Ujin has lost his mind. He was asking about the kiss while Sion was watching. How can he be so cruel? Though it was so gentle and Ji-hoon found it pleasant. It irritates him, and he doesn't understand what Ujin is trying to achieve. The boy feels he is merely teasing him, and he thinks he's overanalyzing it. He doesn't want to date someone as handsome as Ujin. He decides he needs to sleep, as pondering this is too exhausting. But he's glad they didn't do anything improper together today. Night has fallen. Ji-hoon goes to the kitchen for a drink. But suddenly he sees Sion and Ujin there. He realizes he should go back, but Ujin notices him. On the 3rd day of filming, Ji-hoon understood that this variety show wasn't the one he should have joined, and that everything was supposed to be different. Ji-hoon returns to his room, puzzled as to why they weren't embarrassed to see him. He thinks he needs to discuss what's happening with Ujin. He wishes to speak with him about recent events. Ujin says he has a question, and if Ji-hoon answers, he promises to fulfill any request. He asks if Ji-hoon is a virgin. The boy asks why he's suddenly asking this. Ujin says it's because he wants to be his first boyfriend. But Ji-hoon absolutely disagrees. He becomes very angry and tells him not to mention it again. Ujin says it will be hard for him to find someone better than them. Ji-hoon asks how they can say that when they are a couple, but Ujin and Sion ask where he got the idea that they're dating. Ji-hoon says he saw them kissing, and Ujin and Sion just laugh at his words. Ujin says he's so adorable and he wants to keep him for himself. Ultimately, Ji-hoon insists he doesn't want to interfere in their relationship. The first filming has ended, and now Ji-hoon is caught between 2 actors who want to involve him in their relationship, and he has to endure this for 4 more nights. Ujin and Sion tell the crew that they greatly enjoy living with Ji-hoon. Ji-hoon says it's all because they care about him. When they're filming, everything is fine because they don't allow themselves to do anything strange in front of others. But when night falls and everyone departs, Ujin and Sion begin to bother Ji-hoon. The boy encourages himself with thoughts that he can withstand it. That night, Ji-hoon and Ujin sleep together. Ujin asks why he's tossing and turning, saying he might fall off the bed that way. Ji-hoon says it's fine and he's comfortable. Ujin begins to touch Ji-hoon's hair and asks if he's frightened of something. Ujin asks if the boy thinks he'll devour him. Ji-hoon thinks it's natural to be concerned for himself. Ujin asks Ji-hoon not to worry. He promises he won't do anything to him. Ji-hoon thinks that now he won't be able to sleep and he needs to be more cautious. He wakes up in the morning and realizes he's fine. He wonders why Ujin didn't do anything to him, and it sounds as if he wanted him to. But he's glad everything turned out all right. The actors are given their next task. They have to harvest all the potatoes, and then they'll be given money so they can buy something at the supermarket. The actors agree that whoever finishes last will clean the house. Sion asks why he's dressed like that, pointing to his simple attire. Ujin says he likes it because it gives the feeling of actually working in the field. Ji-hoon asks if it won't be hard to wash such clothes if they get dirty. Sion says he'll just throw them away. While working, Sion thinks he shouldn't have agreed to this. Ujin approaches him and says he has a lot of work left, so he asks if he wants help. Sion tells him just not to hinder him. Suddenly, Ji-hoon says he's finished and was the first to do so. He tried very hard to secure first place. They see that Sion has only a few potatoes in his basket and ask if he needs help. The boy says it's fine. Ujin says that since he finished first, he can go shower and rest. The boy agrees and says they should also hurry. When Ji-hoon enters one of the rooms, he sees the crew there. They inform him that they have a problem. Sion suddenly fell ill, and they are currently pausing the filming. Ji-hoon comes to Sion's bed. The cameraman accompanies them. Sion says they can leave if they've finished filming. The cameraman thanks him, asking him to take care of himself, and departs. Sion asks Ji-hoon to turn off the camera. Ji-hoon thinks it doesn't bother them much, but filming a sick person is too much and turns off the camera. Also, he feels that the air conditioner in this room is too loud, and he turns it off. The boys decide to talk a bit about their relationships. When Ji-hoon leaves the room, he sees the cameraman. He wonders if he heard anything. The boy asks if he's been standing there long. The cameraman says he brought some medicine and asks him to take it to Sion. Ji-hoon thinks he truly didn't hear anything and says that Sion has his own medication. The cameraman says he'll return it then. Jihoon mentions that Sion is very sensitive right now and has asked that no one enters his room without permission. The cameraman leaves, and Jihoon hopes that now no one will disturb Sion. Even after the evening shoot, Jihoon was still in shock. Finally, tonight he sleeps alone. Ujin decided to sleep on the couch so he could watch over Sion. Jihoon thinks they've spoiled him. And who cares about them, even if they're stars? Yet he realizes that now he likes them. He admits to himself that he enjoys being with them. Morning arrives. Because of all these thoughts, Jihoon couldn't sleep. Entering the living room, he sees Ujin doing push-ups, being filmed. The young man rises, says it's his morning workout, and asks how he slept. Then he sees Ujin giving Sion a massage on camera. Jihoon says he must have the wrong room and takes his leave. He feels that because of all this, he'll soon lose his mind, and his imagination has sunk to its lowest point. Suddenly, the door opens. Sion emerges and suggests they talk. Sion asks why he doesn't like him as much as he likes Ujin. Jihoon says he doesn't want any relationships and asks him not to impose. Sion suggests they go together. He asks why they don't start dating. Jihoon asks if he's out of his mind. He says one should date someone they love. Sion says he likes him. Jihoon asks what he likes about him. Sion says he admires his innocence. Suddenly, Jihoon says he hates him, and Sion asks why. Their conversation continues, and Jihoon doesn't understand why he says such ugly things with such an angelic face. He can't fathom why the boy is so handsome when all he says is utter nonsense. Sion proposes they simply have a good time and end it before he gets more serious. Then he'll leave him alone. Jihoon says that would benefit only him. But what he truly desires is ordinary romance. Sion is very surprised to hear this. Jihoon says it doesn't matter. He states he'll pretend he heard nothing today and leaves. Nearby, he encounters Ujin. The boy asks if he heard everything. Ujin says he came to stop Sion if he decided to cross the line. Ujin pats Jihoon's head and says he's adorable. Suddenly, Sion appears and tells him not to touch him. He embraces Jihoon and declares that he belongs to him. Jihoon says he doesn't belong to either of them and asks them not to drag him into their games. Sion says Jihoon is just shy and will soon come to him. The next morning, filming resumes and is now wrapping up. The actors are praised and told that in the meantime they'll set up cameras in the kitchen. Jihoon says he'll change and join them shortly. When everyone leaves, the cameraman stays behind for some reason. Jihoon feels that the cameraman suspects their relationships. The man mentions that today he has a personal interview and needs to ensure he's fully prepared. He says he'll go prepare for filming, and Jihoon doesn't understand why he isn't asking anything, as he's sure the man suspects. He thinks perhaps he should apologize somehow. Before leaving, the cameraman asks whom he's in a relationship with, or perhaps with both. Jihoon thinks he's done for because he truly is in romantic relationships with the other actors. In the corridor, the cameraman meets Sion. The boy says he's terrible for messing with a kid like Jihoon. The cameraman asks if he's not doing the same. Sion asks what he'll do. The cameraman replies that he won't tell. Now Jihoon lives in fear because of the cameraman, and anxiety over two guys who want to win his favor. But fortunately, nothing has happened yet, even when he spent the last night alone with Ujin. Thus, the first phase of filming was completed. What will Jihoon do in the second phase? What happened holds great significance for the boy. He's still pondering it, but perhaps for Sion and Ujin it wasn't important since he hasn't heard from them in a while. His head is bursting with these thoughts. Then Ujin and Sion said they took care of the problem with the cameraman, though they didn't explain to Jihoon how it happened. Hyeon enters his room and tells him to come out when he's ready. Jihoon thinks it makes no difference and won't allow any closeness with them anymore. The company said that since he often appeared on the show, they need to do some publicity, so they planned a small street performance. Jihoon feels a bit uneasy and thinks perhaps it'll be better when the first episode airs. But the reaction of passers-by was more lively than usual. In the crowd, he sees a very handsome guy wearing a mask and cap. When the man removes his mask, he recognizes him as Ujin. Jihoon doesn't understand what he's doing here. Ujin thanks him for such a wonderful song and approaches him. He says he'd like to treat him to something. The crowd begins to recognize the famous actor who has just approached Jihoon. By the time Ujin and Jihoon reach the car, they're surrounded by a large crowd. Someone offers gifts, but Ujin says their attention is enough. Getting into the car, Jihoon thinks that all these people ran over with such sparkle in their eyes. Even when they tried to impress everyone, hardly anyone paid attention. But top stars are entirely different. In the car, Ujin asks if Jihoon was uncomfortable because of him and apologizes. The boy says it's fine, and his manager wants to thank him for all the attention. Jihoon asks why he came and if it's work-related. He thinks maybe Ujin wanted to see their performance. The man says he came to see him. Ujin notices that Jihoon is holding a bunch of items. He asks if the people gave them to him. Jihoon says they just grabbed his hands and handed them over. Ujin suggests putting them down so he can discard them later. Jihoon says that's wrong since they're gifts. Ujin assures him it's fine. He asks if he really needs all this and again suggests leaving it. In the corner of the car, Jihoon sees a bag of items, seeming as if he's accustomed to discarding things. He had heard that Ujin is polite with fans, but now he sees that's not true. Ujin asks what Jihoon would like to eat. The boy replies he'd be happy with anything. Ujin asks if he'd like to visit his place then. He mentions it might be uncomfortable to dine in the city where everyone would be watching them. All the while, Jihoon wonders what Ujin wants from him. Ujin notes the boy seems confused and asks if something's wrong. Jihoon replies he was just admiring how nice his house is. Ujin asks how he likes the food. Jihoon says everything is delicious, and he tried steak only thanks to him. Via a message, his manager tells him that his group is trending in search queries. Jihoon says that after Ujin visited them, everyone is interested in their group. Ujin says he thought Jihoon would be more focused on him when they're alone together. Jihoon apologizes and sets his phone aside. He says perhaps it's better to turn it off. Ujin asks about having cake for dessert, and Jihoon happily agrees. Ujin brings a pastry and asks if he enjoys sweets. When Jihoon tastes it, he says it's incredibly delicious. Ujin mentions he has some cream left on his face. As Jihoon begins to wipe his face, Ujin suddenly kisses him. Ujin is certain that Sion has already seen him and Jihoon in the news. He's willing to bet that Sion is already beside himself. In the morning, Jihoon wakes up in Ujin's embrace. Ujin holds him tighter and suggests they lie a bit longer. Jihoon wonders how long he'll remain in this position. He had never seen Ujin sleep so long. He always woke up first and went to bed later than him. He looks at Ujin and thinks that beautiful people are lovely even when they sleep. He notices that he truly has a great physique. He wonders if he'll be like that too if he tries. Ujin says he's so cute touching himself. Ujin remarks that it seems they have an unexpected guest. Jihoon says that judging by the noise, this guest isn't in a good mood. Sion enters the room and sees Jihoon in bed with Ujin. He asks Jihoon how he could do this to him since he was the first to confess his love and waited only for him. Ujin and Jihoon start arguing. Jihoon says he needs to go because he has a busy schedule.